Dude, I'm stoked to have you on today. We have Jeff Stewart with us, mortgage lender, good friend of mine. I'll let you do a little intro if you just want to hit us with some Jeff facts.
Let's do it. Yeah, I'm a mortgage broker. I've been in the industry for going on 4 years now. Jared and I have been there working together since the start. It's crazy to think. I think back in 2020 or 2021. So yeah, been growing quite a bit. This year I'm on pace to do almost double what I did last year. So
nice.
All's good.
I'm stoked to dive into that with you because your progression has been crazy, especially in times like right now where interest rates are a little bit high. A lot of people are kind of slowing down. I've noticed you've been putting your foot on the gas, quite literally with a new car. So you're growing. So we'll dive into that. But let's start with what were you doing before real estate that led you into lending?
Yeah, great question. So I was in real estate since I was about 18 years old. So I've bounced around a little bit. I actually started working for a real estate agent, and I was cold calling, looking for listings, and it was a great job, but it wasn't the right thing for me at that time. So I ended up going into commercial real estate. And I got a degree from USD in real estate and went down the property management, asset management, large multifamily sector. And, just found that it was a very different style of business than residential. I mean, you're dealing with these people who all they care about is the bottom line. They don't care about helping people. They'll rip you off. They'll get their money and not feel bad about it. So, I got a little bit of a sour taste from that and realized I wanted something where I could actually help people and, work with people that truly wanted to make an impact and make a difference and not just make a dollar.
Yeah, for sure. I actually forgot that you did anything commercial. I knew you were in real estate beforehand, but when you were doing the commercial stuff, or even when you just got started in real estate and you were doing all the cold calling, I know you've door knocked. Was some of that
too many doors?
Was some of that stuff that you were doing before lending, did that help you once you got into it?
100%. So I think the biggest takeaway from all that was just the consistency and needing to show up every single day and put your best foot forward, right? Like there were some skills, there were some things that I learned about real estate specifically from being on the property management. But the one thing I learned from a couple of mentors of mine was just, hey, showing up every day, giving it your best and being consistent. And I've been able to carry that through, and it's made a huge impact on my mortgage career.
Yeah, I love that. And I've noticed you always seem to have a mentor. I don't know if you have one now. I just know as you were going through the trenches and getting started, you had a couple along the way. Do you have one right now that you look up to and get advice from?
Yeah, I would definitely shout out Coach Joe. He is the man. He is honestly the mastermind behind everything that I'm doing right now. So he's been a huge mentor of mine. On the fitness side, I do have a mentor as well. Max Sandquist, absolute stud. The guy is jacked. Look at his Instagram. It's insane.
I saw that photo you posted. His quads are fucking huge, bro.
I think his quads are bigger than my chest. It's scary.
Both of ours combined. We got some work to do.
Yeah, we do.
But we're doing it.
We're doing it. So those are two guys that I really look up to. And then I have some people outside of that as well.
Nice. Right on. You mentioned that there's been people that push you along the way, but I think you intrinsically have a really good work ethic. Did that come from your parents? Did it come from San Diego just being expensive? Where does your work ethic come from?
Yeah, I think it actually started with my grandpa. So he was a minor league baseball player, and he always taught us, like me and my sister and all of the grandkids, it was like, you have to be consistent and you have to put in more than anyone else. He said, everybody else can give it 100%. But you need to give it 110. And I remember being a little kid going, well, that's not possible. You can't go above 100%. And he always just stressed on us like, hey, you have to go even more than anyone else is willing to. Like whatever you think is your max is nowhere close to your max. There's so much more left in the tank, and we all just limit ourselves time and time again. I mean, you see it when you're working out, when you're in the gym, when you're working like on your business, you go, I don't want to make a call. But yeah, so just giving it 110% instead of the 100, and, digging deep when it's really hard. Like that's something I've always prided myself on and taken from the example that both my mom, my grandpa, and a few other mentors have set. and just run with that.
So on top of that, what would you say is a trait that you have that other lenders might not have that have helped you succeed, especially during times that are a little bit slow for a lot of people?
That's a great question. I think a lot of that is discipline. Discipline is one thing that I have always, really valued and found to be super important. And I think that applies in all aspects of life, right? Like outside of business, being disciplined in your personal life and how you take care of yourself, how you treat people around you, just being consistent and disciplined in all aspects bleeds over into the business and just makes you so much more efficient and able to perform at a high level. So I think that's been like a superpower for me is I'll see all these other people that they sprint and they get ahead in a short period of time and then they just go and kind of disappear. And then they sprint and then they let off the gas. They sprint and they let off the gas. And that's something that I've been able to avoid is just how can I stay consistent for a long period of time? And maybe when they're giving it, this crazy push, I might not be able to push as hard, but if I never fall off that path and just stay consistent for years and years, like you will not be able to beat me.
I love that. And I want to take that and turn it into a piece of advice for people that might be struggling with whether it's discipline or consistency or even burnout, because you never seem like you burn out. You're always ready to go. Whenever I call you, you never don't answer, And so what advice would you give to someone that might be struggling with discipline and consistency?
Yeah, I think it's just making a game out of it. Like it's really hard to show up every day and give it your absolute best. But I think that's what really like defines your character is, using those moments and saying, hey, I don't feel like it. I'm not in a good mood. Like I just want to go back to bed, go to sleep, and take a nap. But those are those moments where I try to look at it as a little bit of a game and say, how can I win on this time? Yeah. Like maybe the next time this happens, I have to throw in the towel and I can't do it. But just this one time, and I think I stole that from David Goggins, but Goggins always says, hey, you can rest tomorrow, right? Like just do that one extra rep. Just do that one thing that you really don't feel like one time, and tomorrow don't worry about it. You can take the rest.
Right.
And you just keep that momentum going for time and time again. You build up so much confidence and so much strength in what you're doing that you go, I don't need the rest. I'll be good.
Yeah, I love that. So I want to transition into work. I mean, I know all this has to do with work, but let's go into some specifics. So as a lender, I know you have two categories. You work with real estate agents, and then sometimes you work directly with, home buyers. But either way, you're going to end up working with both. Do you try to grow your business as one in regards to those two? Or do you separate, hey, today I'm going to do, the real estate agent side. Tomorrow I'm going to do home buyers. And, do you separate them or do you keep them together?
Yeah, it's really interesting because, on the agent side of things, you have one objective and one objective only. It's all right, how can I help a person find a house and connect the right people with the right house? And it's as simple as that. We, on the other hand, like you said, have so many different categories, right? We have to deal with our loan staff on the back end. We have to deal with, the realtors as clients, the clients as our actual, clients. So I would say I don't necessarily separate it. From a day-to-day basis. I know some people will time block, like today's my day to talk to real estate agents. Tomorrow's my day to talk to clients. But I feel like that, limits you in a way where you're not able to provide the best service for the people that you work with. Because if you say, hey, today's not my day to talk to Jared, and stuff falls through the cracks.
Right.
So I really try and, be in communication with everybody on a daily basis. But then when it comes to the strategies that we employ, completely different for real estate agents versus clients, because you have a different objective than a client does. And so I really cater what it is that we do in our communication and what's important to us together towards whoever it is.
I want to touch on your creativity that you provide for the client, the home buyer. I think a lot of new lenders, and I don't know if you're gonna give away secrets here, but I think
I'll give them all away.
I think a lot of new lenders, know the ABCs, but then you really dive into the weeds and find options for people. Is that something you got from your mentors? Is it something, you researched on your own? How did you get to the point to where when I call you, I know my client's going to have, 14 options compared to the two they might have with someone else.
Well, thank you for that compliment too. But yeah, where a lot of this came from is not me. I will not take credit for any of it. Like, I have a lot of people that I've been able to learn from that are more experienced, more knowledgeable than I am. And I've just kind of taken what they've, put together over 10, 20, 30 years in the business and tried to put my own spin on it. So with the framework being education, right? How can I educate the clients as much as possible and learn as much as possible? Because if I don't know what their true goal is, then I can't give them good advice, right? If I don't know what you're trying to do for the next 10, 20, 30 years and what's important to you, I really can't give you advice on what to do. And so catering, videos and spreadsheets and everything where we're using a holistic like planning versus just, hey, let me get you into a loan. Let me try and find you a house and get paid a commission. Like, we're trying to view this from a long-term perspective where we're truly helping someone, build something for their future and for their family.
Nice, man. So I think that goes hand in hand with another thing that you do really well in regards to just taking care of clients. And I think it also helps your realtor partners, your gift boxes that you do on like day 1, day 7, day 30, after closing. So I know just taking care of people is a big aspect of what you do. Would you say that has helped you get to where you are today?
Definitely. I mean, a big chunk of the business that I do right now is referrals from past clients. And a lot of that is being generated from exactly what you're describing, some of the gift boxes, and then just really taking care of people and letting them know that you have their best interest in mind. Like, a lot of people in the industry don't. And so people can sense that sincerity. And when you really do, put them first, it always comes back around in referrals and repeat clients from there. So I'd say it's 100% attributed to that.
Nice, man. I love that. And I think you do a lot for your clients, but also for realtors. And I want to touch on, I know you've helped one agent grow massively from, what was it? He did 8 deals 2 years ago. Now he's on pace to do what?
About 60 individually, maybe 70. And then as a team, I think they're going to do about 100 to 140.
That's insane. And that's a huge progression for him. What did you do aside from, the gift boxes? That's one thing you've done, but what did you do with this specific individual to help him grow so fast? Yeah,
I think a lot of it comes down to just the idea of like putting two heads together instead of just being on your own is so much more valuable. Like, we all have so many blind spots in our businesses, our personalities, our strengths, our weaknesses. Like, it's so hard to truly do a deep dive on yourself without having someone in your corner that can view it from a completely unbiased opinion. So being able to, provide guidance, provide insights, and really influence the decisions that are made and, have a collaborative kind of relationship has been a game changer for both of us. And a lot of that is just trial and error and thinking outside of the box and implementing new strategies, always being focused on growth and creating something new, right? Not getting stuck in the day-to-day over and over again. Let's just repeat this. Like, how can we improve every aspect of the business and make it better than everybody else's? And when we find something that's working, if you tomorrow said, hey, this thing is working super well, we would take that and implement it and try to even improve upon it.
Nice. And I think his success and a lot of people seeing it has helped grow his team as well. And him growing a team obviously helps you get more clients and real estate agents. But what have you both done together that has worked so well to get so many people that want to join his team?
It all comes down to value. So the reason he's been able to grow so much is because he adds a ton of value to the people that he works with. The reason my business has grown is because I really focus on value. So that's been the driver of everything. I mean, providing them with resources, providing them with role play, providing them with leads, even in some cases, has completely changed their businesses to the point where we're getting people reaching out saying, hey, I see what you're doing. I see the growth that your team has. It's insane. How do I become a part of it?
Yeah. And do you think that team growth and the collaboration mindset is how you guys are excelling so well in a slower market?
100%. So a lot of people are just throwing their hands up, and we kind of had that moment too. Like me personally, I know when the market got really tough, when rates went from 2% all the way up to 8%, it was a bit of a shocking period, and it really caught me off guard at first. And I remember having this moment of like, oh my gosh, it's so hard. Look at the data. The market's terrible. This is the worst that it's been in 30 years. Like, it's not possible to make it happen. But the reality is, the second I switched things in my mind, the second I decided, hey, this is the best market ever. Like, now's the time to grab some market share, because all these people that were doing 100 million, 200 million in 1 year are now struggling to do 30.
Right.
Hey, I can do 30 million in a year. So why can't I go grab their market share and beat them at the game that they're playing? And that mindset shift of just, hey, I'm not going to accept, this market as being a bad market. I'm going to reframe it as it's the best market that's ever existed.
Nice, man. And I'm curious, you mentioned, when rates went from 2 to 7%, I think all real estate agents freaked out. I think all lenders freaked out, and a lot of home buyers freaked out. But I think we're getting used to a new norm. I mean, they're kind of fluctuating. They came down a little bit this week, but what are you advising people that are hesitant because they think these are super high rates?
Yeah, I think it's funny when you take a step back and you look at, historically what's happened. This really isn't that crazy. Yes, rates went up to 8%. Yes, it's scary. Yes, we came from 2% and your payment was $1,500 on $1 million house. Congrats. Those times are done, and we're now in a new era. But what people forget about is that over the past 50 years, we've only had 2 periods where home prices went negative. One being 2008 and the other being 1990, where it barely went below. It didn't even go to 1% negative year over year. Right. And so the important thing is you always have time on your side if you own a property. Right. So people get caught up on, oh, should I buy now? Should I wait for the rates to drop? Should I see if they go higher? It doesn't matter. What you need to do is purchase a home and let time be on your side. So when the market goes up 2% or 5%, or heck, maybe even 15%, and we have a crazy year, you're capitalizing on that because you own $1 million property that just went up 20, 30, 50, 150,000 in 1 year.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I do want to touch on your specific mindset in terms of real estate investing, because I know you've done some interesting forms of investing. I know the deal fell through, but you were doing seller finance. So I'm very interested in your mindset around real estate investing. What are some of your goals in the next 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, I would say, my goals are just to buy as much property as possible. So I'm already looking, I only have 1 property right now, but I'm looking at getting a second one as soon as possible. But at the same time, my main focus is my business right now, just because I recognize that that's the most important thing. And we have a massive opportunity with where the market's at. So property investing is definitely top of the list, but is right behind growing my business and continuing to, excel.
Okay, so let's compound on the team growing thing, because I think a lot of agents want to, and everyone wants to have 14 buyer's agents and get a little piece of them. But I think a lot of people try to do it and fail. What are some things that you've seen in the beginning? Maybe 3 things that you can do early on that set you up for success in the long term.
Yeah, just to touch on, you said most of the people fail. And I think you're 100% right on that. And I think a big reason on why they fail is because they try and get rid of the stuff that they're really good at right up front, right? So they say, oh, I'm sick of chasing buyers around. This is so annoying. I'm going to hire a buyer's agent. And that might be the thing that they absolutely excel at. And instead of trying to create a team where the people can grow on their own and can really build a sustainable business, what they try and do is delegate the leads that they have to other people and go out and build, more leads from there. Right. And it's a completely backwards approach. Like, you have to start with helping people grow in order for you to succeed. And it also brings you to a level where you have to produce at a higher level to stay ahead of where your team is at and be able to provide value back to them. So the thing that I've noticed that works really well for team leads time and time again is the people who really focus on education and providing something that's outside of the box. So not just, hey, you need to go sit open houses, or you need to cold call. Hey, let me cold call with you and show you how it's done. and give you an example of what I want you to do and not just get frustrated with you, the second you can't produce, because your team members most of the time aren't going to be able to produce at the same level as you. And a lot of team leads get frustrated when they don't see those results, and they won't spend the time to train people. So the ones that I see do the best are the people who delegate, who keep the team members separate from their business and really focus on how can I grow these people and turn them into top producers.
Yeah. And I want to ask you, because I know you work alongside the team leads, is there something you're doing in combination with them doing the right things that is helping those team leads? You said they stop focusing on the things that work. Are you jumping in and saying, hey, you're kind of slowing down on lead gen. Maybe we should try X, Y, and Z?
100%. A lot of the times these, team leads are focusing on something that's important, and they're doing really well in one category, but they don't understand a hole in their business that they're completely missing. And when you can fill that gap and have a more well-rounded business, it's like a wheel, right? If you have a flat tire, if you have all the categories maxed out, but one piece of it is completely broken, the wheel isn't going to turn well. It's going to stop, and it's going to be bumpy, and you're going to have all these problems. But the second you can balance that out and make it a more well-rounded business, you will accelerate so quickly and see the compounding effect, and the business just grows at an insane pace. I mean, look at Payson, for instance, going from having no team to 26 agents in 1 year and going over to 100 plus deals in 1 year. Yeah. You just don't see that. But the big reason is because people drive too hard in one direction and don't try to build a well-rounded business with individuals that want to grow and are pushing towards having a business that's similar to yours as a team lead.
Yeah. That's a lot, and that made my head hurt as a real estate agent. Trying to think of all the things you guys have done together, it seems like there's so much between like where I'm at and where Payson's at in regards to the real estate side of things. Do you try to just focus on one thing one day at a time, knowing it's going to lead to something bigger, or do you have a big list of like, hey, we got to do these million things, we're gonna get it done in a year? Like, what's your mindset around just getting tasks done that lead to the bigger goal?
Yeah, I think I used to try and have like 50 tabs open at all times. It's like, let me do this thing, and oh, that's shiny. Let me run over there real quick too. But the reality is, the second I hired a business coach and I started to realize that the only way you progress forward is through having clarity in one singular task that you do super well, and you do not move on from that until it's complete. And so a lot of the times what we'll have in our coaching meetings is we'll make progress on one thing, and it might take us 2-3 weeks to work through it. But had we, done a halfway job up front, the business wouldn't be well-rounded, because that piece of it would always still need some improvement. It would always be something that drags me down. So focusing on one thing at a time, doing it really well, and putting systems and structures in place so that once you do it, you no longer have to do it again, is a game changer.
Yeah. And I want to touch on structure in terms of your business, but also just your day to day. Do you wake up and morning to night kind of have a structured day in terms of, let's just say, life for now?
I wake up at 2:45. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to be one of those guys. I do have some structure. I would say, waking up at the same time every morning is super important to me. I usually have a weekly meeting with my assistant on Mondays that's structured. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm helping teams train. I usually have like 5 or 6 reoccurring meetings where there's consistency and there's progress, and checking in on seeing like how people are doing and how we're progressing forward, and just realigning and making sure that we're actually making progress towards our goals. And I think that's what keeps me aligned and keeps me in place. And so if there isn't as much structure in the other parts of the days, I'm filling it with the things that I know I need to do in order to accomplish those goals that I just talked about either that day or the day prior, so I can't lose sight of it.
Right. So it seems like at all times, if you have, let's say, a Monday meeting, then you have a lot of focus on what was said in there. So if there is no structure for the rest of the day, you at least know what was said in the meeting I can compound on.
Exactly. And I think the longer that I've been in the business, the more clarity I've gained on what's important. and what I need to do to help people succeed. So it really isn't this thing of what do I need to do next or what's going to get me to the next step. It's, am I going to do the action that's driving my business forward, or am I going to be lazy?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Now, you touched on having a fitness coach, you have a business coach, you have an assistant, you have a Corvette, you have a mortgage. Your overhead scares the shit out of me. I lose sleep sometimes thinking about Jeff down the street's overhead. What is
You're not the only one.
What is your mindset regarding having all of these expenses? I mean, I know they're going to help you build for the long term, but sometimes it probably should be scary. What is your mindset regarding having so much overhead?
Yeah, I mean, I used to view it as this terrifying thing. Like, I cannot take on any overhead. $50 a month? No, I can't pay for that software that's going to completely revolutionize the way that I do business. And I've reframed in my mind that if it's something that's helping me move forward, and I'd argue the Corvette's one of those things. Yeah. That's a touchy topic for a lot of people. But, if it's something that I do feel like will help push me to the next level, I feel like it's worth the risk every day of the week, because you have to take a bet on yourself. 100%. And that's something that I've heard time and time again that I completely agree with, is if you're not willing to take a bet on yourself, who is? Yeah. Because you're the only one at the end of the day who's going to be there and show up every single time and truly want to win. Like, nobody wants you to win as bad as you want to win. 100%. So if you're not willing to take the bet on yourself, nobody else will.
Yeah, I love that. Let's do a quick transition. But before we get to the meat of it, let's just do one quick fun fact about Jeff that nobody knows, or like very few people know.
I think one that's kind of funny, because I thought everybody knew this, but in the real estate space, a lot of people don't, is that I used to be a professional downhill skateboarder.
Oh, that's right. Tell us more about that, because I think a lot of people don't know exactly what that is. I could probably find a clip somewhere, but what's the gist of downhill skateboarding?
So it's kind of a ridiculous sport, because you have to be absolutely insane to ride a skateboard like 60 plus miles an hour down a hill. But that's the overall gist, is you're going as fast as you can down these runs. You're racing people down mountain roads that are wide open. There's cars, there's traffic. It's scary, but it's exhilarating. So that was my life for like 8 years before real estate.
Yeah, so basically your lender's a lunatic. So
whoa, let's not go that far.
Add that to the list. But now let's jump into some stuff that might help some home buyers or people looking to buy a home in the next year or two. Let's start with that. Anyone thinking a year or two, what would you advise them to do as regards to plans?
I think the main thing that people get caught up on is not focusing on their income and pushing that to be as high as possible, because without income, you can't really do anything. That's where flexibility comes from, because if you're making $150,000, $200,000 a year as a household, not as an individual, I mean, that'd be great if you're doing that as an individual, but as a household, you have a lot more flexibility, because if you have credit card bills, you can pay those off. If you have something pop up, you can save up and create a rainy day fund. But when you're making, less income and you're not focusing on how do I continue to grow in that aspect, it becomes really hard, because the market keeps getting more expensive and your income has to be increasing at the same pace in order to keep up with that. So that would be one thing. And then I would just say staying debt free is the number one thing. If you struggle with, being able to increase the income, if you're, the field that you're in doesn't present an opportunity where you can grow quickly, then I think the next best thing that you can do is stay debt free. Don't get a car loan. Don't have credit cards. Like, keep your debt at zero, because if you have two strong incomes and absolutely no debt, it becomes so much easier to qualify for a house than if you had two car payments and a credit card.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Now let's jump forward to someone that's thinking in the next 1 to 4 months. What would your advice as a lender be for what they should do next?
I would say focus on your savings. Save up as much as you can. And one thing that I like to do is set aside the amount that you would be paying for that mortgage payment that you're anticipating. So if you're paying $2,000 a month in rent right now and all your money is flying out the door, that doesn't necessarily mean that $2,000 a month is all you can afford. It might be that your money is going places that you don't realize. So if you set aside the $2,000 for rent and you set aside another $2,000 or another 3 or 4 that's going to go towards a forced savings account, you'll find that there's a lot of things you can cut out of your life and make room for that new mortgage payment and see, hey, am I really comfortable with this? Is this an amount that's going to make sense, or do we need to adjust this down or up? And it gives you a lot of clarity into your finances and what you can and can't do.
Yeah, totally. And that actually reminded me of a question that I had a client that I was showing a home to ask me. And it was, when you became a homeowner, what was some stuff that came up that surprised you? Was it a monthly payment? Was it random expenses that came up? Was it needing a lawnmower? What were some surprises that came?
I was shocked that they sent me a bill. I had to pay this mortgage thing. I don't know how that happened. I thought it was just a free house. But no, one thing that caught me off guard is just some of the little expenses that pop up. Like, there's a lot of things on a house that you have to fix. And so about a week into purchasing my house, my garage door broke. I was like, oh, okay. This isn't anything crazy. Someone will come out, they'll put a little grease in the wheels and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
And the guy calls me and goes, yeah, you need to completely replace this thing. It's going to be $2,500. I'm going, what the heck for a garage door? $2,500 and it looks brand new. What's the deal? It ended up only being a couple $100 because they were trying to upsell me on a bunch of things. So I was just shocked at how many different things my, AC has gone out, but I've been surprised, honestly, positively at how little the expense is when it comes to fixing all these things. So after being in a home for, a while now, it hasn't surprised me in a negative way. A lot of people go, oh my gosh, you have to have so much money saved up. It's so much more expensive than renting. But if you buy a house that's renovated like you did, or you renovate it yourself, there's really not a lot of things that break. Besides, I had the garage door and the water heater and it cost me $600 for a year. Yeah. That's the only thing that's broken on my house.
For sure. And I advise people that you should still have reserves.
Yes.
As a lender, what would you recommend is a comfortable amount for reserves? Let's do for W-2 and for 1099.
Yeah. So for W-2, I think you can have a little bit more flexibility. So it really depends on your spending habits and who you are as a person, right? Like, one person might be able to get by with 2 months of reserves and it not be a problem. Whereas some other people might need a year or 2 years just to feel comfortable. But when it does come to business owners, I think most of the time you do want to have 6 months in reserves just to be safe.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I don't know if you've prepared for this question or have you even been asked it. You've been in real estate for 4 years as a lender, right?
Just about. Yep.
Just about 4 years. What is your favorite down payment number or percentage?
My favorite down payment percentage. I don't even know.
Just in terms of
what does that even mean?
Like, do you like seeing people put down 3.5 and having, extra money to put into the stock market? Do you like people putting down 20 to avoid PMI? Do you like the payment that 10% provides? Just over the years, you have to have a number that's like, if anyone could do one down payment, it would be this.
Yeah, I think 10% is usually the sweet spot. I think that's a good number where if you're able to save up a good chunk, your monthly payment's going to be really low at 10%. But I really like seeing, especially younger people, keeping their funds invested and working with a professional advisor. I have a buddy, Eric Diaz of mine, that's really good and he takes great care of all of my clients. And he's been able to maximize their funds and help them compound at a faster rate than what they'd get if they were just putting it more towards a mortgage, because 6-7% interest is really easy for someone like that to beat in the market. So that's what makes me happy, is seeing people invest and continue to build for their future more so than anything.
I like that. Now, in terms of investing, let's talk about the riskier side that I know you're interested in, at least. Do you invest in stocks, Bitcoin, shit coins? Is there anything alternative to real estate that you keep an eye on?
I do. So I invest in real estate. I invest unfortunately, in crypto. Unfortunately or fortunately, depending on the day. It could be tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, crypto millionaire, but probably not. I'll be crying broke in a couple days. But yeah, I invest a little bit in crypto, and then I'm a huge believer in dollar cost averaging into the S&P 500. So I just have a chunk of my pay that goes in every single month towards buying the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, because I feel like that's super important over time.
Nice. I love that. So let's wrap it up here. Let's go over your favorite part of being a lender and your least favorite part of being a lender.
I think my favorite part would have to be seeing people grow on the agent side, or seeing homeowners, accomplish like crazy goals after a couple of years. So, them calling me back and being like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have $250,000 in equity. Like, I never would have thought that was possible. So seeing that, and then seeing realtors go, wow, like when I first met you, I was doing 3 deals and I couldn't pay my bills. And, we're about to buy our first property. Like, that is so exciting and encouraging to see. Like, I just love seeing that growth. And that's, the most important thing to me is just growth. And I would say the least favorite part is, seeing people that really want a house and are trying to do everything that they can to afford it and just can't seem to be able to put together the savings or the income. I think that's what's heartbreaking about my job a lot of the times, is we come across a lot of people, and a lot of people that really want to be homeowners. And, all we can do at the end of the day is equip them with the information and do everything within our possibilities to help them qualify and help them get to a place where they're qualified. And in some cases, it's 2 or 3 years, but it can be a little discouraging when you see people, heartbroken that they can't get their pre-approval.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of people were getting priced out after like 2020, 2021, getting priced out of the entry level, whether it's like studios or, 1-bedroom condos. It's crazy that now like our homes are kind of entry level, we're both in 3.2s, and they're super expensive. So it is heartbreaking seeing people get priced out of what I think everyone deserves, is to eventually be a homeowner, if you work hard and you want it. So on that note, when someone does come to you and they don't qualify at the current moment, do you just, wish them well and adios, or what do you do when that scenario comes around?
Yeah, we block their phone number. No, I'm just kidding. We usually it's a lot of planning, right? So it depends on the person. Sometimes it's credit. A lot of the times people will have a mishap where, maybe they couldn't pay their car payment, or something popped up and someone went to the hospital and they were the person that had to step up and be the one to take care of, the bills. And so in that case, it can just be as simple as, hey, we just need to wait a little bit. Let's pay these things off. Let's take a year and let that late payment drop off of your credit report.
Yeah.
So it could be as simple as that, or it can be as crazy as helping someone find a job. I mean, I've done that in the past where a client was like, hey, I can't qualify. I don't make enough money. And I said, well, hey, if you want, I can help connect you with the right person in this industry and help find you a job. And so we're committed, whatever it is, if a person's willing to take that jump and they're truly, invested in becoming a homeowner, we'll do whatever it takes to make that happen.
Nice. I love that. I had no idea you helped someone find a job. That's sweet, dude. Is there anything else you want to say? You got my audience, you got your audience. Is there anything you want to say on the pod?
I'd just like to shout out all of the absolutely amazing people that have, trusted me and stayed in my corner for years. Like those, I have such great friends. I have such great family and people that I work with. So I'm just forever grateful for all of the amazing people that I've met through real estate and just life in general.
Nice. I love that. Well, that was Jeff Stewart, local lender, works in San Diego. He can probably do, multiple states. I'll throw a lot of information in the description for you. If you have any questions for him, you'll know where to find him. Thanks for coming on, Jeff.
Thanks for having me, Jared.